Hello, kids! Welcome to week 5 of our lesson in English 4 for quarter 1. And for this week, we're going to talk a lot of things, including action verb, voices of the verb, tenses of the verb. We also have adjectives and a touch of complex sentence. So, are you ready? Okay, so let's go and let's move right away to day 1. Alright, so we need to unlock our content vocabulary. Okay, and unscramble the letter to get the correct answer. For number 1, these are words that express actions. So these are verbs. Okay, tense of a verb that is used to express an action that occurs in the present, a habitual action or general truth or fact. So that is present tense. Tense of a verb that expresses an action that will take place in the future. So it is future tense. Now, for number 4, it performs the action or the doer of the action. So we call that the subject. And words that describe or modify nouns or pronouns, we call those words adjectives. So are you ready? Okay, let's start with action verbs. The verbs that do the work. So action verbs are the stars of the sentence. They describe the action that a subject performs. They tell us what the subject is doing. Alright, so here are some of the examples of action words. The boys will practice for their competition next week. We will get high grades if we study hard. All players will do their best to win the game. They will get ready for the practice tomorrow. They will prepare snacks later. Action words are words that are also known as verbs. These are verbs that express actions. They are essential for conveying what someone or something is doing, has done, or will do. Now, upon hearing those phrases, we go now to the tenses of the verbs. What did you do yesterday? And what are you doing now? And what are you going to do tomorrow before going to school? Okay, so verbs are action words and they have tenses. Tenses of the verbs tell when an action is done. Let us find out what are the different tenses of the verbs. So sa Tagalog, ang tenses of the verbs ang nagsasabi sa atin kung kailan ginanap, ginaganap, o gaganapin ang kilos. Okay, so ito yung katumbas ng ating pangnakaraan, pangkasalukuyan, at panghinaharap. O perpektibo, imperpektibo, at kontemplatibo. Okay, switching back again to English. Okay, for set A. Okay, so let's read the sentences. A pilot operates an airplane. Teachers help us to learn. Every afternoon, young children sleep. Boys play basketball every weekend. Julia travels every month. What are the action words in the given sentences? We have operates, help, sleep, play, and travels. So these are examples of action words that we call verbs. Now, when do these actions take place? These actions take place in the present time. Thus, they are verbs in the present tense. Okay, so for a simple present tense or present tense, the base form of the verb is used for all subjects except the third person singular. For the third person singular, we add s or es to the base form. Okay, so we have I, you, we, and they plus the verb, which is the base form, while he, she, and it plus the verb, base form plus s or es. So for example, I walk to school. You play the piano. He reads a book. She writes a letter. So those verbs or actions take place in the present time. Okay, so the present or the simple present tense of the verb is used to express an action that occurs in the present, a habitual action, a general truth, or fact. It is formed by adding s or es, or we call the s form of the verb. When a singular verb ends in y, preceded by a consonant, change y to I and then add es. So it also formed by retaining its original form or its base form. Now, for the past tense, we have the simple past tense of the verb is used to describe an action that happened in the past or before the present time. Regular verbs form their past tense by adding d or ed to their base form. Irregular verbs form their past tense by retaining their base form or changing their spelling. Okay, for example, land, landed, stay, stayed, learn, learned. So they form their past form by adding d or ed to the base form. While for some verbs, they usually change their spelling to make it in the past form. So for example, sing, sang, shine, shone, eat, ate. Okay, so we call those irregular verbs. Now, for the future tense, the simple future tense of a verb expresses an action that will take place in the future. It is formed by using will or shall and the base form of the verb. Okay, so what time is it? It's activity time. Now, we have work example. So we have action verbs. Write the action verbs shown in this picture. So what is the child doing? Okay, eat. Okay, eating. For number 2, play. Okay, for number 3, okay, taking a bath. Number 4, singing. And I think number 5 is praying. Okay, so another activity this time, verb identification challenge. Choose the action verb in each sentence and write it on your paper. So for number 1, okay, sings. The dog barks. Okay, dance. Number 3. Number 4, writes a letter. Number 5, plucks the cord of the guitar. Number 6, James ate. Okay, 2 slices of cake. 7, Peter and Simon play tennis twice a week. Number 8, he drives the new car, so drives. Number 9, watches. Number 10, jumps. Okay, it's very easy to identify the verbs because these verbs always tells us or gives us the action. Alright, so what is the subject doing in the sentence? Okay, so some more. Okay, this time we have the tenses of the verb. Identify the tenses of the underlined verb in the sentence. So we have A and B. So for letter B, choose the correct verb in each sentence. Okay. So for day 2, okay, we're going to have the active and passive voice. Okay, so this is the voice. Okay, so we have the active and the passive voice. Now, who's doing what? Okay, the voice of a verb tells us whether the subject of the sentence performs the action, it is the active voice, or is acted upon or receives the action, which is the passive voice. Now, active voice, we should always remember the subject takes the action. The subject is the doer of the action. So for the structure of the sentence, you have the subject, and then the verb, and then the object. Okay, so for example, she played ping pong yesterday. So who played ping pong? So she. So who is the doer of the subject? It is she. So the focus, it emphasizes the actor the one who performs the action. So for example, the cat chased the mouse. Okay, so the cat, which is the subject, is performing the action. So the cat itself is the one who is chasing the mouse. So hinahabol ng pusa no yung daga. So ang naghahabol mismo ay yung pusa, no, okay? So yung cat is the doer of the uh, verb. Okay, when we say passive voice, the subject is acted upon. The structure, object, plus verb or to be, plus past participle, plus by, plus the agent. Focus, it emphasizes the action or the receiver of the action. Yan. So, the object, okay, for example, the mouse was chased by the cat. Okay, the mouse, which is the object, is being acted upon. So, siya yung hinahabol. Siya yung nagre-receive ng verb or ng action sa sentence. Okay. Now, why do we use passive voice? When the actor is unknown or unimportant, okay, for example, the window was broken. So, we don't know who broke it. Okay, so ginagamit daw natin ang passive voice kapag the actor is unknown. Hindi natin alam kung sino yung gumawa or hindi siya masyadong mahalaga. Okay, so the window was broken, so we don't know who broke it. Next, to emphasize the action or the receiver, the ball was caught by the outfielder. The focus is on the ball being caught, no? Hindi yung person na nakasalo. Next, for a formal objective tone, the report was submitted on time, but we didn't know who submitted the report. Okay, so now, why do we use active voice? So usually preferred for a stronger, clearer writing. It makes your writing more direct and engaging. It emphasizes the actor. It makes it clear who is doing what. Generally considered more concise and efficient. It avoids unnecessary words and phrases. Okay, we have here some examples. So for the active voice, the chef prepared the meal. Okay, so for example, you were being asked to change the sentence from active to passive or from passive to active. So this is some of the examples on how you're going to change these sentences. Okay, vis-a-vis. Okay, so for active, the chef prepared the meal. For passive voice, the meal was prepared by the object. See, for passive, the first word is the object, right? Okay, remember the structure a while ago. You can write it down on your notes so that you won't forget it. For active, the children played in the park. For passive, the game was played by the children in the park. Okay, so active, or always remember, active voice is generally preferred in writing. Passive voice can be useful in certain situations, but overuse can make your writing sound awkward and unclear. So that's all for the active and passive voice. Now, for day 3, we're going to focus on adjectives. So adjectives are words that describe or modify nouns or pronouns. Alright, now we have descriptive adjectives. These are words that describe a person, a place, a thing, animal, event, or an idea. The nouns or pronouns are described according to their quality or kind, like size, shape, age, color, origin, material, or purpose. Descriptive adjectives give a clearer picture of nouns or pronouns in the sentence. So we have here some examples of descriptive adjectives. So for color, of course, we identify or give the description of the color, like red, is it blue eyes, green mango, or yellow ribbon, purple hair, or orange dress. For size, is it small, big, tiny, huge, enormous, or little? For shape, we have round, square, triangle, rectangular, or oval. Texture, is it soft, rough, smooth, bumpy, or fuzzy? Quality, is it beautiful, ugly, happy, sad, funny, boring, or interesting? And for opinion, is it good, bad, excellent, terrible, amazing, or awful? Okay, so this time we have here differentiated group activities. So we have here for activity A, identify the adjective used in the sentences. Okay, so for example, I like to see the blue sky. So the adjective is blue. The large elephant marched through the jungle. So large. She wants to use a soft blanket. Soft. So who would want to use a rough blanket, right? The delicious aroma of bread makes me hungry. Okay, so delicious. I used to play under that old narrow tree. So old. Now this time for letter B, use the appropriate adjective to complete the sentences. So choose your answer inside the parentheses. So the carabao is a blank animal. Is it small, large, or tiny? Of course, it is a large animal. The flowers in the garden are so beautiful. The library has a collection of, old books. The giraffe in the zoo is extremely tall. It is hard for me to climb the high mountain. Okay, so for letter C, construct the sentence where each of the following nouns using an appropriate descriptive adjective. Alright, so my mom baked me a delicious chocolate cake. I love the beautiful rainbow that I saw yesterday. We are very excited to go to the very beautiful beach in Batangas. My humble friend always asks me if I'm okay. I went to the market to buy a new umbrella. Okay, something like that. Now, let's go to day 4, and for day 4, we are going to learn more about complex sentences. Okay, so complex sentences is made up of a main or independent clause and one or more subordinate or dependent clauses. Okay, so a main or independent clause has a subject and a predicate, and it can stand alone. Actually, an independent clause, we can already consider it as a simple sentence because it has a subject and a predicate and it expresses a complete thought. Okay, so we can consider a main or independent clause also as a simple sentence, while the subordinate conjunctions after, although, as if, as long as, before, unless, since, so that, than, whenever, until, when, while are used to introduce the subordinate or dependent clause. So, it is dependent clause because it depends, no? Kumbaga, hindi siya nakapag-iisa. Kumbaga, sa Filipino, ito yung sugnay na hindi nakapag-iisa or hindi buo yung kanyang diwa. Something is missing. Perhaps walang subject or perhaps walang predicate. So, hindi niya kaya yung mag-isa. So, it's like an incomplete phrase, no? That's why it is called dependent clause. So, the conjunctions which were mentioned a while ago, so it signals us that the next preceding lines were subordinate clause or dependent clauses. But then, you need still to understand the sentence. Okay? Now, we have here an activity. So read each sentence carefully and identify the independent clause. So for letter A, you're going to identify the independent clause. So for example, the teacher was proud of her learners because they worked hard. So the independent clause is the teacher was proud of her learners. So for number 1, we underlined I heated it in the microwave oven. Okay, for number 2, he still feels proud of himself. Okay, number 3, she returned the computer. Number 4, you should buy less products. For number 5, all my plans will happen. See, even by hearing those independent clauses, they all gave us a meaning. Okay, so for letter B, this time you're going to identify the dependent clause. For example, Rialyn wants to be a doctor because she loves helping people. So the dependent clause is because she loves the helping or she loves helping people. For number 1, okay, because she wants to get good grades. Number 2, after finishing his homework. Number 3, but she doesn't like to dive. Number 4, when the dog barked loudly. Number 5, if you need assistance. Oh, this time I would let you answer this formative assessment, and later on we're going to check if you got the correct answer. Okay, so it's time to check if you got the correct answer. All right. And this ends our lesson for the whole week. I know it's a tough one, but a tip would be don't learn it all at once. Okay? We have 4 different topics. That's why we divide it into 4 days. Okay? So just focus for day 1, focus on the first topic, then day 2, focus on the next one, day 3, focus on the third topic, and then the fourth day, focus on the last topic. Because if for some, it is very difficult for them to understand all the different topics all at once. But for some who are already aware and who have a background knowledge regarding our topics, it would be just a quick review and it would be easier for them to understand our lesson. So don't be too harm to yourself, no? Give it one day at a time. Okay, that's why we divide it into 4 days. Okay, so thank you very much for being with me. It's been a productive week for us. So thank you for listening and sparing your time with me. So this is Teacher Isa. See you again in week 6. Bye bye.